I was puzzled when I noticed my cat, Luna, started bringing home not just the usual mice or birds, but money. At first, it was just a small change, but then the amounts grew larger. Intrigued by Luna's new hobby, I decided to solve the mystery and followed my cat out one night, expecting perhaps a generous neighbor or an unusual hideout. What I discovered drained the color from my face, compelling me to question everything I knew about my quiet little town. Luna continued bringing home cash, escalating from small bills to larger denominations. It was becoming a genuine curiosity, not just a quirky habit. She'd trot in with her usual proud demeanor, a $20 bill or sometimes even more clutched in her mouth. I couldn't fathom where she could be finding this money. The mystery nagged at me constantly, making it impossible to ignore any longer. I tried to track her that first night, sneaking out the back door as she slinked off into the shadows. Luna moved with uncanny stealth, slipping through fences and ducking under bushes. Despite my best efforts to stay close, she disappeared from sight within minutes. Frustrated, I returned home, determined to find a better way to keep tabs on her nightly escapades without being detected. Then one day, Luna brought back a suspiciously high amount. It was a wad of bills that couldn't be overlooked. My heart raced as I counted and realized it was a few $100s. This was no longer just a strange quirk. It felt like something much more significant. The urgency to uncover what was really happening skyrocketed. Luna stared at me, her eyes gleaming, almost like she was challenging me to solve the puzzle. This ignited my curiosity even more. Luna had turned into my nightly obsession. Each time she brought money home, I felt closer to a hidden truth. My mind raced with possibilities and unanswered questions. What if she had discovered a secret stash? Or worse, stumbled into some illicit activity? I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to get to the bottom of this quickly. Every fiber of my being screamed for answers. I decided to take a week off work to crack this mystery. My boss wasn't thrilled, but I had to get to the bottom of Luna's nightly escapades. Each evening, I meticulously planned my strategy, trying to think like a detective. I gathered supplies, flashlight, notepad, and even snacks for the long nights ahead. I was determined, ready for a week of sleepless nights if it meant finally understanding where Luna was getting the money. I started documenting Luna's movements, taking notes of her routine. Every night, it seemed, she followed the same pattern, slipping out the back door and returning just before dawn. Armed with my notepad and a keen eye, I watched her closely, jotting down the times she left and came back. Noting every detail felt like a step closer to solving the enigma that had taken over my life. She typically left around midnight and returned just before dawn. Her consistency was almost eerie. As I watched her nightly departures, my anticipation grew. What was so important that it required such precise timing? The more I observed, the more I realized I needed to equip myself better to follow her. It was clear Luna's route wasn't random. She had a purpose, and I was determined to uncover it. I invested in a small camera, attaching it gently to Luna's collar. It was lightweight, ensuring it wouldn't bother her during her nighttime ventures. I waited anxiously for her to return that first night with the camera, my fingers crossed that the device would capture something valuable. When she finally came back, I retrieved the camera and plugged it into my computer, eager to see where she had been. The suspense was unbearable. Reviewing the footage revealed she crossed several backyards and went into an abandoned building. My heart pounded as I watched Luna navigate through the town's nightly shadows with ease. The footage was grainy, but clear enough to show that she ventured into the old, decrepit building on the edge of town. It was a place I had never paid much attention to before, but now it seemed to hold countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. The camera's battery life was limited, cutting off before any significant discovery. Frustrated, I realized my plan wasn't foolproof. I reviewed the footage, trying to glean any small clues, even though it ended abruptly. I knew I needed a new strategy, one that wouldn't be confined by a weak battery. Each cutoff left me dangling, eager yet unsatisfied, like a tantalizing mystery just beyond reach. I noticed something peculiar. She always came back cleaner than when she left. Her normally dusty paws and fur appeared almost pristine, as though she'd spent her nights in a care facility instead of scurrying through back alleys. This added another layer to the enigma. What was Luna up to? And where exactly was she going that left her looking so refreshed? My curiosity burned even brighter. I befriended my neighbours to gather information. Casual chats turned into inquisitive conversations about Luna's antics. "Seen anything unusual?" I'd ask while collecting the mail or taking out the trash. Some shared sightings of Luna, mostly harmless, roaming around yards. Despite my polite prodding, no one could explain the odd influx of cash she was bringing home. Luna's nightly escapades remained an unsolved puzzle in our quiet neighbourhood. Some had seen Luna, but no one had a clue why she was bringing back money. It was becoming increasingly clear that her secret lay beyond what we could see from our windows. Mrs. Carter from across the street just shook her head in bewilderment. Mr. Barnes thought it was amusing. As much as Luna's escapades baffled us all, I was no closer to the truth. My mission seemed ever more necessary. Mrs. Thompson mentioned she once noticed Luna scurrying out of an old warehouse on Elm Street. "Maybe that's your answer," she said thoughtfully, sipping her tea. My ears perked up at the mention of the warehouse, a place I'd never given much thought. Could it really hold the key to Luna's mysterious finds? Mrs. Thompson's casual remark ignited a newfound determination in me to conduct a closer investigation. Determined, I decided to inspect this warehouse. Grabbing my flashlight and a notepad, I planned my visit carefully. The warehouse on Elm Street had always seemed abandoned and desolate, a relic of a bygone era. But now, it loomed in my mind as a potential treasure trove of answers. I felt a surge of resolve. Tonight, I would brave its shadows and seek out the secrets it might hold. Armed with a flashlight, I cautiously got inside one night, finding signs of recent activity like moved crates and fresh footprints. The air was thick with dust, yet certain paths appeared cleared, as if frequently travelled. My heart pounded as I edged deeper, the beam of my flashlight slicing through the darkness. Every creak and distant noise set my nerves on edge. This place was far from abandoned. Though I didn't find Luna, I left knowing I was on the right track. Painstakingly documenting every detail, I noted the evidence of movement. The fresh footprints and disturbed crates suggested that the warehouse was actively being used. My confidence grew. This place was definitely connected to Luna's mysterious earnings. I returned home with a sense of accomplishment, certain that the warehouse held crucial clues to unraveling the mystery. Venturing deeper into investigating the warehouse, I noticed more unusual signs. Some nights, the place seemed lifeless. Other nights, subtle hints of activity kept my nerves taut. Scrap papers, cigarette butts, and the occasional faint light from within pointed to ongoing use. Each discovery fueled my resolve, driving me back night after night. It became clear that something clandestine was happening here, and I was determined to uncover it. One particular night, I overheard muffled conversations and saw shadows moving in the dim light. My pulse quickened as I strained to catch any clear words, barely making out fragments of hushed dialogue. Shadows danced across the walls, hinting at multiple figures inside. My instincts screamed danger, but curiosity kept me rooted. Something significant was happening in that warehouse. Whatever it was, it sure felt like I was getting closer to the core of the mystery. It seemed to be a hub for some sort of clandestine operation. The shadows flitting past windows and the occasional hushed voices indicated steady activity. My pulse quickened as I realized this was no ordinary abandoned building. What had Luna stumbled upon? People definitely used this place for something secretive, and I was determined to find out exactly what it was. Panicking, I quickly retreated and decided to come back better prepared. My mind raced as I tiptoed out of the warehouse, heart pounding in my chest. If Luna could navigate this place, so could I, but not without a plan. I needed to approach the investigation with more caution, ensuring I was ready for whatever I might uncover. Next time, I wouldn't be so hasty. I invested in a pair of night vision binoculars and decided to watch the warehouse from a distance. With my new gear, I felt more prepared. I set up my stakeout, hidden behind some bushes, but with a perfect view of the warehouse entrance. The binoculars revealed more activity than I could have seen with the naked eye. Figures moved in and out, validating my suspicions of some shady operation. Frustratingly, Luna continued her nightly trips, leaving me clinging to loose leads. Watching her vanish into the night, a tabby on a mission, drove my curiosity wild. Despite my efforts to monitor the warehouse, Luna's comings and goings offered no definitive answers. Her routine remained cryptic, adding layers of mystery to an already puzzling situation. I needed to find a way to connect my observations to her actions. I had to be more covert. My previous attempts at following Luna and watching the warehouse left too many gaps. I started refining my approach, focusing on subterfuge and discretion. Every movement had to be deliberate and cautious, maximizing the chances of uncovering significant details without being detected. It was a delicate balance, but one I was committed to mastering. The stakes were high, and I was up for the challenge. A stakeout began as I hid outside the warehouse each night, my binoculars at the ready. I'd arrive early and find the best vantage point, settling in for long hours of watching and waiting. Despite the cold nights and stiff muscles, I knew perseverance was key. Night after night, I monitored the small movements and subtle goings-on, taking mental notes and trying to piece together the larger puzzle. Days turned into sleepless cycles, tension building as I watched unknown figures entering and leaving. Rest became an afterthought. My focus was glued to the warehouse. Blurred faces, unfamiliar voices, and the intrigue of the clandestine activities held an almost hypnotic grip on my mind. The constant vigilance was exhausting, yet the prospect of uncovering the truth fueled my relentless pursuit. Each night brought new insights and more questions. I noted the regulars, focusing on their routines and physical descriptions. There was a distinct pattern to their comings and goings. Some were easy to recognize. The tall man with the leather jacket, the woman with the red scarf, and the short guy with the cap. Each had a role to play in the unfolding drama within the warehouse. Documenting their habits became crucial in understanding the bigger picture. One night, as I observed, I noticed a man with a noticeable scar who seemed to lead the group. His presence was commanding. Even from a distance, his authority was apparent. He moved with purpose, directing others with subtle gestures and brief, hushed conversations. The scar ran down the left side of his face, a distinctive mark that made him hard to forget. It was clear he was central to whatever was happening inside. I couldn't shake the feeling that these people were part of something much bigger. The meticulous coordination and secrecy suggested a well-organized operation. Whatever was going on inside that warehouse, it wasn't small time. My mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. The scarred man's involvement hinted at danger, but also at the potential to uncover a significant secret. Despite the risks, I knew I had to keep digging. Determined to get closer, I planned a night reconnaissance of the warehouse. My stomach twisted in knots as I mapped out my steps. Luna had been my guide so far, and tonight I'd follow her lead again. My flashlight ready and courage steeled, I prepared myself for whatever awaited. Tonight wasn't just about observing anymore. I was stepping into the unknown, ready to unveil the warehouse's true purpose. I timed Luna's departure and followed her quietly. She slipped through the back door, and I moved in sync, my steps as silent as possible. Luna led me through dark alleys, over fences, and past sleeping houses. The town, wrapped in the midnight stillness, seemed like an entirely different world. My heart pounded louder than any nighttime noise, hoping to finally uncover where Luna was taking me. Inside the warehouse, I discovered what looked like a printing setup and stacks of paper. The space was dimly lit, revealing rows of machinery and neatly organized stacks of blank sheets. I crouched behind a stack of crates, the sight confirming that this place was no ordinary rundown building. Everything pointed to something secretive, intricate, and possibly illegal. The realization hit me harder as my eyes scanned the eerie setup. It started to make sense. There was a connection between the warehouse and the money Luna brought home. Observing the setup closely, it was clear the equipment wasn't for simple printing jobs. My mind whirled with theories as I connected the dots. Luna's nightly deliveries and this sophisticated arrangement could only point to one thing. The money she'd been bringing home had to be linked here. Wanting more proof, I took some photos with my phone. My hands shook slightly as I snapped pictures of the printing machines and piles of paper. Each click felt louder in the silent warehouse, raising my anxiety. The images might be my key to unlocking the truth or convincing others of my findings. Luna's mystery was slowly unraveling before me, and I needed to capture everything I could. Unfortunately, I barely escaped unnoticed as Luna caused a distraction, allowing me to flee. Just as I was backing away, Luna knocked over a small pile of papers, causing a commotion. The noise echoed, making my heart skip a beat. In the ensuing chaos, I seized the opportunity to slip out through a side door. Luna's unintentional help gave me the crucial seconds I needed to escape with my newfound evidence. The photos I took were blurry, but revealing enough. Back at home, I examined each image carefully, lamenting the lack of clarity, yet noting the crucial details. The machines were unmistakable, and the stacks of paper suggested something significant. Despite the blurriness, the photos provided a glimpse into the clandestine activities within the warehouse. It was enough to keep me pushing forward, driven by the promise of uncovering the full story. Yet, I didn't have enough for concrete evidence. The blurry photos and partial information left gaps that others could easily dismiss. My frustration grew as I knew that without undeniable proof, my claims would sound like wild tales. The persistence of Luna's nightly journeys nagged at me, urging me to strengthen my case. Something bigger was at play, and I needed to gather solid, irrefutable evidence to be taken seriously. Frustration mounted as I knew my neighbors wouldn't believe such an outlandish story without hard proof. Luna's mysterious escapades and the vague connection to the warehouse seemed too fantastical. My neighbors were skeptical by nature. They needed tangible evidence. Watching Luna return each night heightened my resolve. I had to turn my observations into undeniable proof that would convince even the most doubtful among us. I decided to contact a friend, Alex, who knew his way around surveillance equipment. I recalled Alex's enthusiasm for gadgets and his knack for setting up hidden cameras. A quick call explained my weird situation, and Alex was surprisingly eager to help. With his expertise, we could place better surveillance around the warehouse. This collaboration was my best shot at piecing together enough evidence to solve the mystery once and for all. Together, we placed better recording devices around the warehouse. Alex strategically positioned cameras in hidden corners and high vantage points. Every angle needed coverage. Satisfied with our setup, we returned to my place, high-fiving each other. These new cameras would provide the clarity and consistency I had been missing. As Luna continued her nightly trips, we would finally capture the elusive proof needed to unmask the warehouse's operations. Each day, we collected footage, piecing together their activities. Alex and I would meet up after work, eager to review the tapes like kids unwrapping Christmas presents. We saw various people entering and leaving, their faces and actions immortalized in our recordings. Each frame brought us closer to understanding the secretive goings-on. The warehouse's puzzle pieces slowly started to fit together, leading us to clarity one recording at a time. Our patience paid off. After several nights of recordings, we began seeing patterns that matched our observations during stakeouts. Regular visitors, scheduled deliveries, and rare oddities formed a clearer picture. One particular sequence stood out, a hurried exchange between two men, surely hinting at something big. The familiarity of faces and choreographed movements made the recordings an invaluable resource. We felt the breakthrough was imminent now, more convinced than ever. We captured suspicious activities involving transferring large boxes at odd hours, The late-night movements, the hushed whispers, and the effort to mask their actions screamed illegitimate dealings. Zooming in on specific frames showed clearly identifiable objects, raising more questions and teetering dangerously close to exposing their operation. These suspicious boxes and the coordinated effort to move them revealed the gravity of what was unfolding in the warehouse's shadows. Reviewing the tapes, we zoomed in on the details and saw the same man with the scar exchanging stacks of paper that looked like bundles of cash. His presence and actions reinforced our suspicions. The illicit activities were undeniable, given his exchange of large amounts of money. The scarred man's pivotal role in these interactions underscored his importance in whatever scheme was at play, linking our observations to solid, actionable intel. My adrenaline surged. This could be the breakthrough we needed. Every frame confirmed our theories, driving home the reality of the operation. The weight of our discoveries pressed on me. This wasn't just a hobby anymore, but an urgent mission. With the scarred man caught on tape, we had a key figure to focus on. The stakes were higher now, urging us towards careful, decisive action to unravel their full schematics. However, going to the authorities without proper preparation seemed risky. We needed to ensure we had irrefutable evidence to avoid being dismissed as paranoid. A poorly presented case might even tip off the suspects, making them vanish before we could secure more details. The fear of risking Luna's inadvertent help kept me cautious. Every step had to be meticulous moving forward, ensuring our findings were compelling and actionable by law enforcement. I resolved to gather one last piece of evidence. This time, it had to be undeniable, a knockout punch. Alex supported the idea, knowing it was crucial. We planned our next steps meticulously, considering every possible twist. I needed to get inside the warehouse once more, this time delving deeper than before. With Alex's tech savvy and my determination, we hoped this would be the final push needed to expose the operation fully. Risking another night inside the warehouse, I slipped past the side entrance equipped with a new mini-camera Alex lent me. My heart pounded louder with each step, every crunch of gravel magnified in my ears. I needed to remain steady and unseen. The warehouse's dim corridors loomed around me, the oppressive silence broken only by my own cautious breaths. This clandestine recon night had me on high alert. This time, I made it deeper, uncovering a hidden room. Inside, the unnerving hum of machinery filled the air. Stacks of neatly arranged paper and complicated blueprints littered the surface. Walls lined with shelves held tools and inks, pointing to sophisticated operations. My camera's lens captured the intricate details, a treasure trove of evidence. This hidden area was the heart of their operation. Luna's misguided adventures had guided me here. Within it lay detailed blueprints and counterfeit currency printing machinery. The array of sophisticated equipment was undeniable. This was a massive operation. My camera captured every detail: the row of printing presses, piles of high-quality paper, and the meticulous diagrams pinned to the walls. This room was a revelation, the heart of the clandestine activities. I knew now, without a doubt, that I had stumbled upon something significant and highly illegal. It was undeniable now. I had enough proof. The blueprints and machinery confirmed my worst suspicions. My heart raced as I realized the magnitude of the discovery. This wasn't just about Luna bringing home money. It was a massive counterfeit operation. Every nerve in my body was on high alert. With this evidence, I was no longer the curious cat owner. I was on the brink of exposing a crime. Just as I snapped the final pictures, a noise startled me. My heart jumped into my throat as the sound of footsteps echoed through the hallways of the warehouse. I quickly turned off my camera, fearing the noise might lead someone straight to me. Holding my breath, I inched toward the nearest pile of crates, hoping to remain hidden from whoever was approaching. Every second felt like an eternity. I barely managed to hide before someone entered, leaving me trapped for nerve-wracking minutes. My breathing was shallow, and every beat of my heart seemed thunderous in the silence. The footsteps grew nearer, then stopped. Shadows danced on the walls as a flashlight beam swept the room. I pressed myself against the cold metal crates, praying I wouldn't be discovered. The seconds crawled by, each one a test of my nerves. Surprisingly, it was Luna who offered me an unplanned escape. As the flashlight beam neared my hiding spot, I saw Luna saunter in, her presence unexpected but perfectly timed. The intruder's attention shifted to her, momentarily distracted by my cat. My heart pounded as I realized this was my chance. Luna's casual stroll had provided a desperately needed diversion. Her timing couldn't have been better, giving me a fleeting opportunity. She waltzed in, and the guards shooed her away, unwittingly giving me the cover to slip out unnoticed. The guards' annoyed grumblings were music to my ears. I took a calculated risk, creeping out from behind the crates and moving toward the exit. Luna continued to distract them, her nonchalant behavior providing the perfect cover. I made it out into the night, heart-pounding but elated at my narrow escape. My heart was pounding as I raced home, clutching the camera that held the crucial evidence. The night air was cool against my flushed face, each step bringing me closer to safety. Thoughts of what I'd seen swirled in my mind, blending with the adrenaline-fueled drive to reach home. Finally, I burst through my front door, breathing heavily but filled with a sense of urgency and accomplishment. Alex and I quickly transferred the footage and prepared a dossier. We couldn't afford any delays. Each frame was scrutinized and organized, showcasing the detailed operation I had uncovered. Alex worked swiftly, his expertise invaluable in ensuring we documented everything accurately. We compiled every piece of evidence into a structured, convincing report. Adrenaline fueled our determination, knowing this was our best shot at exposing the counterfeit ring. We made an anonymous tip to the authorities, giving them a detailed timeline and proof. Every piece of our collected data was meticulously presented, leaving no room for doubt. Nervous yet excited, we sent the dossier and hoped for swift action. The ball was now in their court. Luna's mysterious nighttime adventures had led us to something huge, and it was time for the authorities to step in. Days later, the news broke. A significant counterfeit operation right in our neighborhood, hidden in plain sight. The authorities had raided the warehouse, arresting everyone involved. The revelation shocked the community. It turned out Luna had been unknowingly picking cleaned bills laid out to dry by the printing press. My bewilderment turned into gratitude. Who would have thought a simple cat's curiosity could unravel such a large-scale illegal operation? The authorities raided the warehouse, arresting everyone involved. It was a well-coordinated bust, with multiple squads converging on the location. I watched the news in astonishment as they hauled out boxes of counterfeit bills and dismantled printing presses. Luna watched by my side, unaware of the magnitude of what she had uncovered. The neighborhood buzzed with rumors, and I felt a strange mix of relief and amazement. Luna had been unknowingly picking cleaned bills laid out to dry by the printing press. It seemed almost surreal that her nightly escapades had led to exposing a major counterfeit operation. The innocent look in her eyes as she pawed at my lap made it hard to believe she'd been key to uncovering a crime. Her routine of bringing home money seemed less bizarre, knowing the truth. Knowing Luna had inadvertently led me to unravel this criminal network turned my bewilderment into gratitude. Reflecting on the past few weeks, every late night and moment of frustration paid off. Luna's curious nature had exposed something far beyond ordinary. My mind was still spinning from the realization, but deep down, gratitude blossomed. She'd been an unlikely hero in this strange adventure. Who would have thought a simple cat's curiosity could foil illegal activities and reveal such an astonishing secret? Luna's actions reminded me that even the smallest beings can have an immense impact. Her nightly wanderings had opened up a world of intrigue and led to the downfall of an organized crime ring. It was a lesson in the unexpected and the power of curiosity to change everything. The cat had been stealing bills left to dry by the printing press. Each night, Luna had unwittingly collected evidence of the counterfeit operation. This simple act had woven a complex tapestry of events leading to a raid and multiple arrests. The irony was not lost on me. What started as a peculiar habit had culminated in a major bust, reshaping the understanding of our neighbourhood. The counterfeit operation had been well organised and hidden in plain sight. Looking back, I couldn't believe how seamlessly it blended into our everyday lives. The warehouse, once an unnoticed relic, had harboured secrets right under our noses. Luna's discoveries underscored how efficiently this operation had been concealed. It was a humbling realisation, highlighting that appearances could be extraordinarily deceiving. With the operation taken down, our town felt different. The discovery and subsequent arrests had rippled through the community, altering the sense of normalcy. Conversations at the grocery store, casual chats during evening walks, they all had a new edge. The revelation that such illegal activities had been occurring so close to home was unsettling. Yet, there was also a burgeoning sense of vigilance and unity among us. I gained newfound respect and some cautious admiration from my neighbours. Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Barnes, who had once been sceptical, now looked at me with different eyes. "You really cracked it," Mrs. Thompson remarked, nodding with approval. My role in exposing the counterfeit operation, with Luna's unintended help, had earned me a small hero status in our quiet community. It felt surreal, but fulfilling. Luna went back to her usual routine, and life slowly returned to normal. She once again roamed the neighbourhood, but this time without the mystery of money. Her nightly adventures were now just part of her natural curiosity. The days of staking out warehouses and unravelling intricate plots faded into memory. Our lives reclaimed a sense of simplicity, even as the echoes of our adventure lingered. In the end, a simple cat showed that even the smallest actions can have a big impact. Luna's innocent nightly walks had led to the uncovering of a significant criminal operation. It taught me that vigilance and curiosity should never be underestimated. Life has a funny way of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Through Luna, I experienced just how powerful small actions can truly be.